time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielsen, Matt Cassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 142 of Two Guys and a Goalie. It's Nielsen, Gager, Cassian, Hernan, Salas, and we're all presented to you by Coolbet. You can visit them at Coolbet Canada. Patty Gregoire, who's he's the man behind all of Chris Abbott's success. He's going to be by a little bit later on. If you want to sign up for an account, use the bonus code 2guys. And I just look at our group here right now. We're 142 episodes in. Gager's come on off riding a high on Sportsnet last night. Great bacon line. Hernan's coming off of a absolute troll job last night for Tyson Barrie Twitter. And Cass can't barely move today because he threw his back out lifting his daughter. So looks like we're all doing well, boys.
Living the dream, Dusty.
Cass, let's start with you. Like, you got ice on the back right now, or like, how bad is this?
Heat, man, heat. That's ice is 1980s. Like that's all the science says that heat is the only thing that works. Ice numbs it and makes it feel better, but it doesn't actually do anything. So heat is the trick. And you know what? For me, typically it's not actually my lower back that's the issue. It's the hips. My hips are the issue, and then my lower back tries to compensate, and I was trying to pick up a squawking 1-year-old or almost 1-year-old, and then not moving so hot right now. And the bad thing is I'm supposed to refinish the deck this weekend, so oh boy, we're gonna be in one.
This reminds me of the time my buddy came up here. We made him ride the bull at Cook County, and then we also paid the guy to buck him off really good, and he cracked his sternum and had to go back to Lethbridge and move to a new house with his wife the next day, and he couldn't let her know that his sternum was cracked from riding the bull, so he toughed it out all day. It was legendary mix-up. But hey, boys will be boys, including Hernan Salas. Hernan, I got a little bit of advice for you. When you drop a grenade on Twitter, you don't go back to the grenade. You stay away from the grenade, and you just couldn't do it last night.
So I wanted to like troll and get my Barrie take out there, so I disabled comments, but then I forgot there's that quote tweet little function there, and it ruined my plans. But yeah, it took on a life of its own on Twitter yesterday. I logged back in and I was like, holy smokes, people. I got at least 30 charts of analytics on Tyson Barrie. Some guys even DM me. I was insulted. Some people were like, "No, I'm with you, Hernan," but I want to troll without the comments, and then one guy's like, "Well, good argument. You know, you can't even open your comments." And I put Hulk Hogan NWO because he was the biggest troll of them all. But now, Dusty, I only replied to about 3 or 4 people because I was like, my blood was boiling. But then I said, you know what? What am I doing? Exactly what I didn't want to do was fight with people. So I just let it. And people are like sending me all these pictures like, oh, you have no answer. You're weak. And I'm just like laughing in the back like, oh, God. Twitter is awesome sometimes. It was a quiet Wednesday night. So I said, let's have some fun tonight. I didn't think it'd be that bad, but holy smokes.
You know what this reminds me of, Hernan? Is way back when, and I love him. I don't know, he might be listening. My one buddy Ruben, love him to death, but he's like an analytics guy. Is back when the Hall for Larson trade happened, he told me, well, if you look at his like Larson's early career analytics, they're like the same as Victor Hedman's. He's like on the same path as Victor Hedman. And I was just like, no, he's not. Like, I don't care what your analytics say, he's not. And clearly I was right. And it's the same thing, Hernan. Like, just the some of the analytics that people have, like, no, Bouchard would not have the same amount of points. No, he would not have more points. Like, don't, like, oh my goodness, people are just.
Cass, in conclusion to my tweet last night, the aftermath was Tyson Barrie is one of the worst defensemen in the NHL, and secondly, Evan Bouchard is Cale Makar.
Right, he is, yeah.
Oh,
makes sense.
That was,
it makes sense. His analytics would say that he's on the same career path. So yeah.
Well, Gager, how'd the night go for you, buddy?
I missed out on all the fun. I was all stressed out about being on the panel again. So I just it's funny how I don't remember what I said half the time. and my neighbor was funny. He was quite proud of me. So he was actually waiting with a drink in hand for me, basically when I got home. Nice to have the afternoon game, like home by 5:30. That was great. But
you get more comfortable there, buddy. Like once you start to do it, like no, yes,
not at all. No.
No?
I was sweating. That's why I chose a colored shirt, because I didn't want the sweat marks to come through. But it's nerve wracking, man. I don't know. It's once you get going, I guess it's okay. But and the Gene's so good at keeping it moving and stuff like that. But half the time I just trying to get it out as quick as possible, and that's it.
It was John Short. He did color for me in my first ever AJHL game I did. And this guy, he'd been broadcasting for like 60 years at that point.
Yeah.
And so I'm all nervous. I'm sitting there. It was a game in St. Albert between whoever it was at the time. And I think it was at Ainsdale. Is that Ainsdale, the old arena out there? Is that where they used to play? Anyway, so we're climbed up. You had to climb up to the old press box there. And I said, John, I'm really nervous here. He goes, if you ever aren't nervous before a broadcast, it's time to move on. He goes, you should always get a little bit nervous before a broadcast, which is true. Before I call a CFL game, buddy, I'm like hyperventilating. And then they're like, go. And then you just go. It works so well. And then you hop on Twitter later and you see this. You see Hernan Salas posted the Hulk Hogan gif. It's just, come on. That was the ultimate, buddy. That was just.
Oh, don't make me laugh. Good. My back hurts.
Cass, you come to the wrong podcast, buddy. You come to the wrong podcast today. All right. We got to talk about it here in a second. Pat Gregoire is going to pop by from CoolBet. Keep it or clip it. I got 5 questions today. But we did see the NHL schedule come out today. Game 1, Oilers-Jets, Wednesday. Game 2 is Friday. And then 3 and 4 in Winnipeg. Back-to-backs Sunday, Monday. Cass, your thoughts on actually seeing a back-to-back in the postseason? And I know I shouldn't mention back to you right now, but I have to ask you.
Yeah, back-to-back. Well, some of their backs might be hurting. I'm kind of like whatever. Like you with the condensed schedule, the way the season is gone, and with COVID, like you just got to deal with it. It shouldn't be something that's unexpected. And maybe, during a normal year, you'd be a little bit frustrated by it, or you'd be like, well, you shouldn't do that. But I don't really care. From an intensity standpoint, I'm almost like it ups the ante a little bit here, because it's, if you push back-to-backs, you have 6 periods almost immediately. Like it turns it from basically a split 2 games into one big game, which just to me makes it interesting, because you gotta win 3 periods and then win another 3, and it's you don't have too much time to reset. So being prepared and starting well just becomes all the more prevalent. Like you could see so much more momentum from a team that wins that first game stepping into that night to night, and it'll be so much tougher for that team in the second night. But I don't think there should be any reason to complain about it from an athlete standpoint. If this was a regular year, maybe, but given COVID in the situation, just deal with it, roll with it, and play some hockey.
Gage, do you see any advantage for either team in a back-to-back from a roster perspective? Like, I know it's probably too early to ask that, but does anything jump off the page for you one way or the other? Like Connor McDavid and Draisaitl on the second night, a chance to really eat up a tire blue line or something.
When is it the Sunday, Monday?
It's a Sunday, Monday. It's 3-4. It's 3-4.
Game 3-4. I mean, it all depends on how the series goes at the beginning, I guess. But the only thing I worry about in the back-to-back situation is if game 3 goes to like overtime number 5, right? That's the one thing that I'm like, oh gosh, that's you're almost leaving the rink just to turn around and come right back, right? So no, but these guys, I don't think it makes too much of a difference. The only case it's going to be bad is if that thing goes to a couple extra overtimes and they wind up playing a few more periods of hockey within that short time frame. But I mean, it's a great opportunity if you're up in that series and you have a good game 3 to keep rolling with that momentum. That's a huge advantage for sure.
Yeah, and keep
Hernan,
in mind,
what do you think?
Oh, sorry,
I was going to ask Hernan, what do you think the league does if you have like a 4 or 5 period overtime the night before back-to-back? Like, what do they do?
Well, keep in mind the Sunday game is probably going to be afternoon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because
And
the
then
Leafs the Leafs from Montreal play that night. You're right, and they won't make the Jets Oilers be an 8:00 start after the Habs Leafs. I wouldn't think.
So yeah, they're gonna play probably early afternoon, and then Monday night probably be that 7-8 o'clock start. So that's interesting. How about this, guys? I had Maddie Iwanek on my other podcast yesterday, and we were talking about back-to-backs. We didn't know at that point if there was going to be one, but is Mike Smith getting both games in the back-to-back? Because according to my good buddy Maddie Iwanek, he's like, you have to play Koskinen in the other game. And I was like, at least for me, I'd roll Smith the whole time.
Yeah, you roll Smith. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
What if you're up 3-0?
Why? You put the nail in the coffin and then you rest. He only plays if Mike Smith really sucks or gets hurt. That's the only way he plays. He's letting in those soft goals that I didn't like the first and third goal, to tell you the truth, last game that he allowed. So I don't think Tippett has any confidence in him whatsoever to play. And no, you go with Mike Smith.
Because the Jets are going to roll Hellebuck in both back-to-back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't see why the Oilers wouldn't roll Mike Smith. And Maddie brought up a good point. He's like, well, it's age. I'm like, well, these guys are like, they're fit, man. Like, it's not going to affect them that much.
And they haven't played 82 as well.
That's right. He's not coming in here playing 65 games, right?
Yeah, it's not like they had the whole schedule. I mean, it was condensed over the last few months, but for the most part, that's kind of almost as how many games they would play in that situation. So, they should be fresh.
All right, let's get to, we got to talk about it. It's brought to you by Break Kings, our partners at Break Kings. Go and join that Facebook page today, Break Kings with a Z. I'm going to have a break on Sunday night, so you can hop in that with me. Break Kings on Facebook. They bring you, we got to talk about it. And let's see here. We'll get to Cass before we bring in Patty. Let's do it. Let's go straight to Gager. Gager, what do we got to talk about, buddy?
What are we talking about? I don't even know what I said.
I thought you said Barrie last night.
Oh, did I say Barrie? No. Well,
Yeah.
well, we can talk about it.
You were fired up about Hernan stuff, and you wanted to talk about Barrie.
Yeah, remember
right.
Okay, this is what we're talking about tomorrow.
Okay, yeah. All right now. I was in a fog. Sorry, boys. I was just in a fog. But I don't understand like all this stuff about how people think that they shouldn't have Tyson Barrie back. Like, he's been one of the best defenseman in the league this season and fit in really nicely with Connor. I know at the beginning of the year we were holding our breath a little bit on the power play because it didn't seem like it was looking that good. But I think the Oilers have to do as much as humanly possible to get this guy back for another season. I know that he's probably going to be looking for a huge payday somewhere else, but if there's any way that they can get him back, I think he's a must-have with the situation on the back end that the Oilers have. But it drives me crazy listening to these guys. Like we were talking before, how Bouchard should just take that role and they should get rid of him, and his his analytics don't add up. It's so dumb. But Tyson Barrie they got to sign him. I think they do.
I think they got to be smart about it for sure, because you do have a little bit of leverage with the Bouchard kid. But I just can't believe we're in a spot here where this guy's leading the NHL in D scoring, and the Oilers are a really good team. And Connor McDavid is having one of the best offensive seasons he's having the best offensive season in the last 25 years in the National Hockey League. And I've got people sending graphs to me and Hernan saying, well, when Barrie's on the ice with Connor McDavid, he's producing at a slower rate than he is when he's off the ice with him. And I'm like, he's having the best season of his career. Like, so he doesn't produce as much when Barrie's barely ever not there anyway. I like Bouchard. I think I would have liked to have seen more from Bouchard, and then you might have a better read on Bouchard. But I just don't understand how even analytical folks can justify using a 13-game sample size to just assume that this guy can do what Tyson Barrie did. And I know some people say, Nielsen, you're exaggerating. I'm not. I had people on Twitter yesterday telling me that, you know what? If Bouchard got all the ice time Barrie got, he too would probably lead the league in D scoring as a rookie. And I feel like maybe I am what people have called me, an idiot. But at the same time, I don't want to be an idiot, Cass. Where do you come out on this?
Go, Cass. Go, Cass.
No, like, I run out of words, Dusty. I run out of words for people that, like, again, analytics, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, analytics are a great descriptor of what happened. They help you understand what happened. When you're evaluating what happened, they're not predictive of the future in sports because there are too many variables, too many intangibles, things you cannot measure, things you cannot, like on an afternoon game when it's 23 Celsius and the second day of a back-to-back and the humidity in the air is 13%. Well, then on that day, Tyson Barrie is going to be worse than, Evan Bouchard in the instance that Connor McDavid has been on the ice for only, 2 seconds less than his average in the case of snow buildup. So it's this time in the period because there's X amount of snow buildup on the ice, and and the pucks have been frozen for X amount of hours instead of X amount of hours. Like, there's too much. There's too much. You number nerds, quit. Just quit thinking you know everything because you have a tiny little sample size, and you're like, oh well, we can do this, and then and then we can trade Bear and Bouchard or Bear and Jones, and we're going to be able to trade them for. For Eichel, and they're going to do that happily because Baron Bouchard's or whatever. Like, I just can't even get the names right. It just upsets me too much. Like, it's just ridiculous, Dusty. It's ridiculous. And you're absolutely right to say, like, the proof here is in the pudding. How many points has Barrie put up? A lot. How many points has Bouchard put up? Not very many. If he was as good as you were predicting with your analytics or saying with your analytics, guess what? He would have played more games and he would have produced more in those games. And the minutes he was playing and who he was playing against was sheltered in those games for good purpose. Like, and that's nothing negative about Bouchard. He's going to be a great defenseman. I think he's going to be a really good defenseman. He's going to be fantastic on the power play. I think he's smart. He's capable. He's really good. But at this point in his career, is he where Barrie is? Not even close. Now, if people came to you, Dusty, and they said, like, well, I don't think, like let's look at his numbers. Let's look how he is with McDavid, and he's really good with McDavid. And I don't think for that reason we can pay him $8 million a year. Fine. If you want to use that information and justify we can't afford to pay this guy as much as he's going to ask for, that to me is fine. Make that argument. That is a logical argument. But to say that Bouchard is better at this point or would have put up as many points, that's just idiocy. Like, give your head a shake. Go give yourself a swirly in the toilet. Flush it a few times. Like, clean your ears out here. Come on. Seriously. It's just annoying. Just annoying.
It does quickly. Everything's been said, and trust me, I said enough on Twitter. But like, the thing that bothers me is everybody keeps bringing up his defensive game. He's never been that guy. Like he was brought here to be offensive and be a power play specialist and play in the top four. He's knocked all of that stuff out of the park. Everybody's like, well, he's not good defensively. He never has been. He's been just okay. And there's a reason why he plays with the best defenseman on the Oilers. There's a reason for that. Like, everybody keeps bringing up his defensive play, but that's not why he was brought to Edmonton.
He was brought to Edmonton to do exactly what he's done. Like, my favorite argument is he's holding Connor back when they're on the ice together. Anyway, our guest today, I hope he's not a big numbers guy, because if he is, this is going to be awkward. Patty Gregor's with us from Coolbet. Pat, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, boys. But that was awesome. All the analytic nerds just got shoved in a locker, and I have no idea how they're getting out anymore. That's amazing.
Here's the thing, Pat, is like I'm a numbers guy. I like numbers, and I actually like analytics, but I just like them as telling me what's happened so I can understand it. Like, they're just so not predictive in sports for the future. Like, it's just ridiculous. But Pat, as we jump in here, we got to talk about it. I wanted to feed into it a little bit, but my big thing is when I look at this, I got 2 Stanley Cup favorites for me right now that I'm like, these are my horses going into this. And for me, that's Vegas or Colorado. I think one of those 2 teams is coming out of it, and one of those 2 teams is going to win it. But from the Cool Bet side, who's the front runners right now? Who you guys have?
For the most part, those are 2 of a lot of the risk that we do have right now, obviously, with the numbers being a little bit low for those 2 teams right now. Obviously, that's where it's going. And you can see as the season progresses, with the Leafs obviously being up there as well. that's not necessarily saying, that's who they're the second favorite, but that's just more or less saying, all right, there is a ton of money on Toronto right now. We have to bring that number down. So I would probably agree with you. That's probably our largest risk. I'd have to go back and check, but I know, a few weeks ago, that certainly was the case there. And I think you're right. The only thing that kind of concerns me is, I would say those two teams probably are the favorite. The only thing that scares me is both of them going head to head. So when in that second round, so if you're going to put money on them, you got to be sure on one of them, because there's a good chance, obviously 50-50, one of them aren't making it out of that series, obviously. But you got to be really certain. I think that series is going to be so close. I think they're both very evenly matched. And as you see, to the very end today, we're going to find out who wins the division and the President's Trophy.
Oh, I see that Pat. Hey, it's Joaquin Gage here
from Sportsnet. No big deal.
I dabble in Sportsnet here and there.
The TV guy.
The TV guy. Yeah. I'm looking at the series prices are out now, which are really exciting. What can you go into a little bit more depth on what guys should be looking at? Like, I see you have like goals in a series, the total games, how they go. How does one give us some pointers on how to bet these series and things like that?
So obviously, if you're looking through the series and say, for example, if you really think Edmonton, is going to win here and you want to take them to win the series, the number isn't really great. You're going to have to play a lot of juice, similar to Toronto. I think it's like 1 or -2 something right now. So that's where you got to go in and maybe get a little bit creative. If you're really certain, that the Oilers are going to win in 4, win in 5, maybe go with that. And that's the way that you can get a little more value, because right now there aren't too many series that have some good value on that. So I think the number is where you really want to go. But for example, if you think on the flip side, if you think Montreal has a good chance to upset Toronto in the first round, I'd be looking at that. The number is a little bit bigger. The other thing that you can do as well is, if you're not really too sure which way it's going to go, dive into some of our player goals, player props. Those ones are starting to roll out right now, actually. And as you can see, just some of them coming up. I know it kind of worked out perfectly that we hop on the show here.
Yes.
The Edmonton prices are up. And first thing I see, Jesse Puljujärvi over 1.5 at plus 165. I am going to unload my next 2 paychecks and absolutely hammer that. I think that is pure free money.
Oh, yeah. Can we speed this up, Dusty? I got stuff to do here.
Here's the thing. As you guys, this is a true story. As you guys were talking about this, I hopped on CoolBet, and because when I looked this morning, the individual player points weren't posted. So I see it right now, and I just put my entire account on Connor McDavid over 10.5 points against the Winnipeg Jets. I thought it might come out as a minus number. I think it's plus 120 over 10.5. And if I think the series is going to go 6, which I do think it's going to go 6, Connor McDavid's going to have 11 points in that series. So, Pat, how much action do you guys expect to take on those sort of player props series to series, do you think?
I think it's gonna be a lot. As you saw on Twitter, you threw out yesterday saying CoolBet's looking to add some player props. What do you want to see? And obviously, we got a lot of cool options, which we're hoping to get some of them in the next couple of days. Maybe a McDavid against Matthews, goals head-to-head, things like that. But a lot of people just really were interested in the player series and full playoff props. And I think that's something that's going to be really intriguing for Canadians this year, considering that we're guaranteed to have one Canadian team go to the Final Four. We're going to have 2 Canadian teams at least to the second round. So there's going to be a lot of Canadian content throughout this playoffs. And for even the teams that didn't make it, they're going to be able to at least dip into some of these player props. And I think this is going to be awesome. I think we're going to take a lot of action. Looking at some of these numbers right now, like you said, I think a ton of people are going to be hopping on McDavid, Draisaitl, those player props, because if they don't hop on it now, they're going to drop real quick and you're going to miss the boat.
Hey, Pat, there's always one upset in the first round of the playoffs. So I look at the Wild. I mean, they're in tough because they're either getting Avs, but I really like that Minnesota team. Nashville's probably a long shot, St. Louis as well. What odds, I guess, for the long shots there for you guys? What team do you guys feel is going to upset?
That's tough. I mean, if you look at right now, Washington and Boston, technically Washington is the underdog in this series at plus 120. So I think there's some value there. They've shown obviously in the past that they're a playoff built team, but so is the Bruins. But this really isn't the same Bruins team that we are used to. So I think there's some value there. I do like Minnesota as well. I wouldn't really unload the bankroll on it necessarily, but I do think there's a lot of value there as well.
I got one more for you, and then we'll probably let you go. I think I looked last night at cup odds, and I thought the Oilers are around 19-1 or 21-1. I look at 14-1 right now. Has there been a big Edmonton push here? You've seen a lot of money coming on the Oilers right now. Is that why that line has dropped so much?
Yeah, so we have seen a lot more money coming in, and that's the one thing with when you get to this point, a lot of the line movement is what the public is doing.
Yeah.
Really over the last 2 weeks, a team's not really going to impress that much with that last, playoff push. So we have seen a lot of it, and I think a lot of it has to do with the great job that you guys are doing promoting CoolBet, out in Edmonton. Because if you look through our social analytics, and that's pretty much all my job is the marketing and social media. A ton of our followers and a ton of our engagement come from oil country. So I got to give you guys a shout out that a lot of the money's coming here. So hopefully, sorry to say this, hopefully they don't, because I want my Christmas bonus. Because if the Edmonton Oilers do, I might be out of a job. So,
10 of those accounts are mine, so I might skew it.
Gager loves those bonuses. He loves those. He loves those deposit bonuses. Patty, great stuff, buddy. You're a lot nicer to us than Chris Abbott is, so we appreciate the visit today.
Better hair
no
too.
problem.
It's good.
Yeah, that's true. All right, see you later, man.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
There you go. That is Pat Gregoire. Find him on Twitter at @PGreggy. Huge lacrosse guy. Didn't get into him with lacrosse because it doesn't really tie into the show today. But huge lacrosse guy. Yeah, I as you guys are talking, I hopped on my account. And I realized I must have won a bet yesterday or the day before that I didn't know, because my account was significantly larger than I thought it was. And because it was a surprise, I thought, well, I didn't think that money was going to be there anyway. So I put it all on McDavid over 10.5 points. Because even if they play only 5, let's say it only goes 5, which I don't think it will. I think it's going to go 6 for sure. Even if it only goes 5, McDavid could have 11 points. He had at least 2 points in every single game against the Jets the entire season. So I love that 10.5 number. That line, I'm telling you right now, that plus 120, by the time the puck drops next week, that'll be a minus number. 100%.
Well, even Barrie,
I'm going to bet against you on that one. I'm betting against you. The Oilers are winning 5, so he's not getting
He still gets 11. He'll still get 11.
No. I think
He might.
10.
Yeah, he might.
You know what, Dusty? All I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to get people to place across from you so you make more. Because if they start going that he's not going to get it, then you do better.
That's true. Keep that line going the other way. That's smart. All right. So thanks to Pat for popping by. Let's continue with, we got to talk about it. Hernan, what do we got to talk about, buddy?
Yeah, I think we're all obviously going to be real into the Oilers Jets. I think Leafs Habs is going to be great as well. Always looking for the Leafs to crap the bed. So we'll definitely be tuning into that. But outside of the North Division, guys, what's the one series that's going to grab your attention? For me, I know I brought it up with Pat, the Minnesota Wild, but I'm intrigued, especially how the last 2 games went with the teams in Tampa Bay and Florida Panthers. I think Tampa Bay is the elite of the elite, a cup contender. Florida is trying to work their way there. They had a great season. Sasha Barkov was fantastic. So was Huberdeau. And that's the series for me that I'll be watching outside of the North. And again, just the way the last 2 games ended with all the fines and the penalties and Patty Maroon being called what was he fat Maroon or something like that from one of the players, and he just went crazy. But I just want to what kind of series interests you guys outside of the North?
I said it
Cass, is Fatty Maroon just too easy? Like that just seems like too easy a chirp.
That's low hanging fruit. That's low hanging fruit. Right
Yeah.
But
Yeah, hey, I can't remember. I think it was Montour who called him that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, in the corner there. That's right.
Man. It makes me laugh. But I love like those type of, like when someone drops something like that and it's like it's so simple and it's so like not even good, but it's still funny. Like and not kind, like it's a mean thing. It's not something you should walk around saying to people, but in that instance, like it just sets him off and then it just makes everything more fun. Like this from a fan perspective, it gets me. I love it. I miss some of that. Like that's some of that stuff I miss, and even not even like the in-game stuff towards the other team, but just inside a dressing room. So maybe we just need to start making more fun of each other, coming up with names. But
whatever you say, Fat Cassian. Your name just works. It's too easy. Hernan, we say this all the time, like, oh, first round of the playoffs is going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. But you're right. Minnesota versus whoever. Minnesota versus Vegas, because Colorado's going to crush the Kings tonight and lock up the President's Trophy. That should be a great series. But Boston, Washington really does intrigue me. You got the Taylor Hall factor. That second line's going since he's come in there. They seem to be gelling pretty well. Washington's got some guys who've been banged up. They've kind of been working other things through there. They've got, a transition in the net from having Holtby in the net for the playoffs where they've had success. Like there's the core's still there from the championship team, but there's a bunch of different guys who've been worked in there. So I'm very intrigued by Boston and Washington, and I had no problem picking whoever comes out of that series to beat the Penguins if they get by the Islanders. So I think that series kind of has me intrigued. I'm looking forward to all of them though.
Yeah, they're all looking like must watch. And some of it's just because I haven't seen these teams play. I've heard different things. The Taylor Hall thing is really interesting. But to me, I really want to watch the Leafs, the Montreal series. I'm really interested to see what happens with Sherratt, Weber, and Petrie going up against Pajama. What do you call him? Pajama John and and Austin and Marner there, and see what type of intestinal fortitude those guys have, because it's going to be interesting in net. Is Freddie Anderson going to play or not? There's a lot of things going on there. Is Perry Price going to be back? I'm really intrigued to see, because there's such polar opposite types of teams, right? Like, and I think Montreal built themselves this way because they knew they were going to probably have to go up against the Leafs at some point anyway. So, that's I'm looking forward to that one, as well as, of course, the Edmonton one.
Sorry, Gage, as you were talking, I was depositing more money in my account because the total on Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is 3.5 points in the series.
I know.
So I'm on the over bet place. Cool Bet Canada. Done.
You'd think that Blake Wheeler will have a little bit.
Kyle Connor's at 3.5.
Yeah.
Probably take that one too. I'm going to bet the over on every single player in this series and just hope for a bunch of 6-4 games. I might do it on both sides. All right, where were we? Oh yeah, I want to talk about this. Mine's just a question I got for you guys, and we asked it on the show this morning, and I had some interesting responses. So let's go. The biggest concern you have for the Oilers, and the Oilers are in a spot now where I don't think there are any glaring concerns. I could be wrong, and if I am, correct me. But what's the thing that concerns you the most with the Oilers heading into the playoffs this year? Is there one thing that, I don't want to say jumps off the page, maybe you got to dig a little bit for it, but what would your answer be to that question?
Mine is who's going to step up and have that career-defining unsung hero kind of series. I fully expect Connor and Leon, like the usual suspects, to play well, but I think they're going to need someone else to come forward. I do like that new line with Neal and Chason and McLeod. I think that can be a very interesting line going forward. That could be a good body punching line, and there's some guys that can score, and they have scored in the last few games. So I'm that's the only thing I think that I'm worried about, Dusty, is just that Fernando Pisani type of playoffs. If the players want, or if the Oilers want to get to where they ultimately want to be, and that's winning a cup.
Yeah, for me, I think it's just because this team hasn't had a lot of playoff experience. I think if, let's just say, they drop the first game, things don't go well, are they going to be able to bounce back and get out of that rut? We saw it against Chicago where they couldn't. I mean, even the game they won, they got some lucky breaks and they had to hold on for dear life in that game. So for me, it's when things go wrong, because something's going to go wrong in game 2 or game 1, whatever. How do the Oilers respond? Just because, I mean, they can use the 4 games last year in the bubble playoffs as hey, let's not let this happen again. But for a team like this who doesn't have that experience, I'm a little concerned if things don't go their way early on, if they're able to bounce back and get back in the series.
You only learn from losing. You don't learn too much from winning.
Yeah.
And if anything, they learned a lot last year. So hopefully
I
that's
disagree. I think you learn a lot from winning.
Not as much as losing.
I think you learn a lot from winning too. My biggest concern is the depth of the Edmonton Oilers defense if something were to happen to Barrie or Neal. That is my primary concern.
You mean Nurse?
Or sorry, Barrie or Neal. Sorry, Barrie or Nurse.
You scared me. I was like, what?
Not James Neal.
Thought I missed something.
James Neal will be okay. Yeah, sorry, James. But no, or Tyson Barrie or Darnell Nurse. If something happens to those two guys, one of them, just think of the minutes that have to be made up for. And even as we saw the other day, like Caleb Jones against Montreal, Caleb Jones did not get that many minutes. He did not get that many minutes in that game. And that was a game where everyone was out there and rolling, and he still was held back in terms of playing time. And that to me is an issue. And on the flip side, on the right side, the little amount that Bouchard has played makes me a little bit nervous as well. If you need him to step in and all of a sudden play 18, 20, 22 minutes a night, like who's going to step in there? Russell, maybe, I guess you could put him in, but is he really going to stabilize and replace if something happens to Darnell Nurse? Right now, I don't think so. So that to me is my biggest concern and fear, is something happening to one of your top D men, because I just don't think there's enough there right now at the bottom end of the lineup to support if something happens.
All right. I think all of you have pretty good points. Yeah, I mean, Cass totally disrespecting Bouchard because he could totally step in for Barrie in the situation in the playoffs, but whatever. Whatever you want, Cass. That's fine. All right, let's get to Keep It or Clip It. I got 5 questions today. Let's start with the Toronto Maple Leafs, boys. Jack Campbell will play more playoff games than Freddie Anderson for the Leafs. Keep it or clip it.
I got to clip
Keep it.
I can't.
Oh, go ahead, Gager.
Clip it. Like, he can't. You got to. I think you have to start with Canelo Alvarez there. He looks exactly like him, actually. There, you gotta go with him. I just experience. I think if he falters, then Soupy can go in. But you start with Canelo.
I was gonna say keep it because they're losing in 4 straight, and so Campbell's gonna get 3 and Anderson gets 1.
Hernan, what do you got?
I'll keep it as well. I think Jack Campbell's going to start and he's going to roll with that team. So I'll go with Jack Campbell as well.
Question number 2. The Ottawa Senators will be the 3rd best team in Canada next season. Keep it or clip it.
Clip it. They're going to be better, but no, they look like the Oilers of old, just the last surge at when nothing else matters, and they're playing loose, and it's not going to work next year. They're going to have a tough time out of the gate, and they'll improve like they did this year, but no, not a chance.
Yeah, I'm with Gager. I'll clip it too. I think they'll be better than Vancouver. They'll be right there with Calgary probably, but I still have the 4 teams in the playoffs right now ahead of Ottawa.
I'm going to keep it. I think Eugene opens up the books, or opens up the bank rather. I think they get Jack Eichel. They trade for Jones and for Bear. And what else do they do here? Who else can they sign?
2 goalies. Signed Linus Ullmark.
They signed another 2 goalies, and then they win the division.
Got to remember, next year they'll be back in a pretty difficult division too, right? I just asked the question because after a 2-13 start, the only teams that had a better record of them the rest of the season were the Oilers and Leafs. So they did very well after a shitty start. All right, question.
Better next year. I actually think my actual note would be I don't think they improve. I think they improve. I don't think they step into that top 4. They're one more year away, but they're going to be a good team as long as they don't start. Eugene doesn't make Dorian start pulling triggers and trading young guys. I think they'll be really good in 2 years.
All right, this one is. I got a couple of financial guys here on the podcast, and Hernan, you earn money as well, so maybe you can help me out with this. But a barbecue. I still haven't bought a barbecue. This thing's dragging on, but not because I'm using it for a bit, but I'm just very hesitant here. I don't know where I want to go yet. A barbecue is a better investment than a Derek Jeter rookie card, which I have since purchased while I've been looking for barbecues. So you're the financial guys. Long term, what's the better investment?
How much was the Jeter card?
Depends who's watching upstairs. Less than a barbecue. Okay, I'll say that. Less than a barbecue.
I would go with the barbecue, Dusty. There's too many fun things. You get way more enjoyment out of the barbecue in the short term, and you get stuff with lights. You got the smoker on the side. I know you're not much of a barbecue guy, but this can expand your culinary palate as well. You can maybe try some things that maybe get a little bit adventurous with it. So I would go barbecue.
Card, man. What's going to have more value in 10 years? Your barbecue or your card?
Great answer, Hernan. Great answer.
Yeah.
Cass, you're the deciding vote.
I mean, have you looked at me? I like food, so
you are a foodie.
Like the Jeter card will probably be worth more than your barbecue in 10 years if you were to get one today. Yep. Will most likely be worth more than the barbecue. However, it's going to sit in a little box, and you're going to look at it every once in a while and think, "Wow, this is really cool." Or you could have a barbecue and eat on it every week. So, or from it, something that you cooked on it every week.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I say barbecue, Dusty. I say barbecue.
All right. Well, more value. I'll try to trade that Jeter card for a barbecue later this afternoon. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 4. If healthy, Chris Russell will play more than Caleb Jones in the postseason. Keep it or clip it.
Keep it.
Keep it.
That's a no-brainer. Keep it.
Question number 5, last one. The Edmonton Oilers are capable of winning a Stanley Cup this season. Keep it or clip it.
Keep it. They got the formula right. They got a goalie who's should win the Vezina. Darnell Nurse is a Norris candidate, and they have 2 big studs up front. The only thing is the unsung hero of the playoffs. They have all the pieces that they need. That when you look at the team that wins the Stanley Cup, it's usually two big studs, the unsung hero, great defenseman, and a goalie that's in the conversation for the Conn Smythe. So keep it.
I'll keep it too. You have the best player in the world. A guy that's his running mate that's top 5 in the world, and anything can happen in the playoffs. You get hot at the right time. Your goalie's hot. Why not? So I'll keep it too.
Man, you guys are just pushing me in a corner here. I'm going to clip it just to be that guy. So I don't think they're quite there. They're quite there with the defensive depth. Darnell Nurse taking a step forward this year has been huge to have him because he's going to play a ton of minutes and he's going to play really, really well. But that second pairing just quite isn't there yet. And when you run up against Like if you were to run up against a Colorado or a Vegas, I just think they overwhelm you with the pressure that they bring. So not quite, almost, but not quite.
As you guys were answering that, I put more money on Puljujärvi over 2.5 points in this series. So I'm fully on board with these. They should have never put up these individual player point totals for the playoffs. This is going to be a disaster. I'm going to have to sell the barbecue and the Jeter card. Unbelievable. All right, that's going to do it for episode 142. Full playoff predictions for the North on Monday's episode. Our thoughts on the Leafs and Habs, our thoughts on the Oilers and Jets, how many games, series MVP, all that fun stuff. We'll do that on Monday's episode. Cass, I want to call it episode 142 Fatty Cassian, but is that okay? Like, I don't want to
go for it. I don't care.
Okay. All right, I think that's a good name. And I can make that because I'm clearly the fattest guy on the podcast, so it's okay to decide to do that, I guess, here today. All right. What's plans for the weekends? What's going on, boys?
Oh man, my
Nothing
wife tore apart
because we
the
can't
kitchen.
do anything.
No, it's the full kind of reno-y stuff we're doing. She painted the TV and the backsplash of the tile and stuff. So it's I really haven't done a thing, so I don't know what I'm complaining about. But I should probably help at some point. So yeah. Just supervising the renovation of the kitchen and the front room there a little bit. Little touch up with paint.
Just work Saturday, Oiler game, Sunday as well, and then maybe in between there have a few brews. Not much we can do.
That sounds nice.
That does sound nice.
I'm supposed to be refinishing the deck. We'll see how that goes with my back. I would like just to redo the deck, but lumber is more expensive than cocaine. So per ounce, yeah.
You can't snort lumber.
You can't snort lumber. Yeah.
Are you going to hit the Nova Cannabis?
That's not serious. But it's just a comment on how stupid expensive lumber is right now. So,
all right,
my
boys.
neighbor's actually going with full composite. I think the difference between just like normal cedar and composite isn't as bad as it usually is. So he's going full composite redoing. Yeah.
What's going on? Is there a lumber shortage? Is it what's happening right now?
Yeah, they all got stuck in the Suez Canal and
that's just coming around now.
No, I guess they had to shut down because of COVID. Like they didn't produce a lot last year because everything was shut down, and now the whole supply and demand, Dusty. It's in demand and short supply.
Yeah.
Prices go up.
Oh, good luck with that, Cass. Good luck. I'm probably gonna be building a barbecue on Saturday. I'm gonna start around breakfast, have it done by dinner on Sunday, and then we'll be good to go. So we'll see. Just got to pull the trigger on this. So, all right, boys, that's gonna do it for another episode. What's that, Cass?
Season the grill properly if it's a cast iron grill.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to text you later. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on. No, I was gonna get a cast iron grill, but now you scared me. What do I have to do to this thing?
No, they're way better. They're way better. You have to. I'll tell you later.
Okay. All right. Whew. All right. Everybody have a great weekend. That's going to do it for another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie, brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Coolbet Canada. Stay cool. Bet responsibly. Hammered the McDavid over 10.5 in the series against the Jets. And we'll be back on Monday to preview both division series in the North.